We are down to the final four teams, and you are searching high and far for every single piece of content that will tell you who to start at running back this week. So on today's episode of the Progression to the Beam podcast, we have the only running back rankings you will need to win the second round, the semifinals of the fantasy football playoffs. I'm your host, Shaun, and your eyes do not deceive you. For the first time in close to 4 or 5 weeks, I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, my fellow knowers of ball, and my fellow good friends, keyword on the plural S there, Keegan Thompson and Aidan Holler. Keegan, the mustache looks amazing, man. You've moved to a different region of the country, and I feel like you're adopting that lifestyle with how thick the mustache is. How are you doing today, dude?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've recorded. You guys have, obviously done great. No need for me here. You guys have been crushing. But yeah, it's been a long journey. I moved at the end of November, all the way from LA out to Greenville, South Carolina. So no longer a PST bro and suffering with all the fellow EST sports viewers and watchers. I was watching a San Jose Sharks game until like 12:30 the other night in my bed on ESPN Plus on my phone. So yeah, that's the new life. I've already immersed myself going to Clemson versus South Carolina at Death Valley first weekend here. So we're just getting the swing of things, getting the swing of the South.
Well, we are very happy to have you back, and we definitely missed you and your opinions, your zigs, your zags. We need all of them from Keegan Thompson here. Aidan, another time logging on, another Bears and Niners defeat. How are we doing today, man?
Feels like Groundhog Day, man. Just wake up, get kicked in the nuts every single week for the last 2 months. It's okay though, man. It's almost over. I've advanced in some fantasy leagues. I've advanced in some best ball tournaments. So my eyes are on the prize. I'm numb inside, but I'm looking at my bottom line, and there could be some cash on my way if I play things right the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited though. Yeah, man, is this our last show of the year, boys? Or maybe we'll get something
TBD on championship rankings. I don't want to leave anyone high and dry, but that looks like and how we go about it, we'll see.
I'm excited, man. It's semis. It's exciting, down to the last 4 teams. It's what it's all about. So, yeah, what do we got in store today, Shaun?
Yeah, what do we have in store? Dead inside, eyes on the prize. That's going to be my new motto moving forward. Okay, so today's episode, we are going to be focusing on the top 46 running backs. I've ranked the top 46 running backs for week 16. I've broken them into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers here. If you are new to our ranking show, welcome. I can't believe you're rocking with us this late into the season, but welcome to the show. If you are new to our rankings, again, it's relatively straightforward. I go tier by tier. We try and give thoughts on pretty much everyone playing. So I'm going to go through each tier, share each guy. Aidan's going to give his thoughts. Keegan's going to give his thoughts. We might, update the rankings in real time. We'll see how it goes. If you are looking at the sheet here, I've got it pulled up on the screen. It's pretty straightforward with what we have here. On the left, you have my rank and the player. And then here I take into a bunch of different factors on how I rank specific players. So I have implied team total rank, which is ITT rank. This gives you an idea of what Vegas thinks the team that this running back plays for is going to do this weekend and how they stack up versus the rest of the field. ECR here is expert consensus rankings. It is an aggregate rankings of the top 100 fantasy experts over at Fantasy Pros versus ECR is my difference against those rankers and those fantasy experts. It's essentially if I'm high or low versus that player and guys that I'm taking a stand on. I also have fantasy points per game over the past month, expected fantasy points per game over the past month, how efficient that player's been, and then the opponent. So who are they going up against, and does that defense do well in fantasy points versus these running backs? Finally, I have an RTM score and a projection. The RTM score, the lower, the better. Just a combination of all these different factors. And the projection is essentially their expected usage versus what the opponents are giving up weekly. Pretty straightforward stuff. Aidan, before we dive in, though, again, if someone's joining for the first time, outside of the rankings, what else should they expect today?
Yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show for the Loyal Mean Team. Good to have you rocking with us again. Shaun kind of outlined the rankings. We'd like to keep it pretty simple here. We've got our tiers here. You kind of know the method to the madness of what goes into it, but we're going to go tier by tier, kind of touch on all these guys. We'll pretty much get through everyone, but in the show notes down below in the description, we'll have the tiers broken down by each player, timestamps, link to our sheet. So you can go ahead and find whatever you need. You don't need to listen to us mess around for the entire show. We've got what you need right there at your disposal. But yeah, just give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. Yeah, we're trying to help you guys win some money. We know this is a big week for everyone. So put your start sits in the comments. Tell Keegan you're happy to see him back again. Whatever you guys want. We're happy to have you on the show. And yeah, hoping to help you guys win this week.
All right, boys, let's do this. Tier 1, running backs 1 through 7. I've got Josh Jacobs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, James Conner, Chase Brown, Devin Achane. So Josh Jacobs is a surprise RB1 this week for me. I've got him 3 spots ahead of expert consensus rankings. This one's just pretty simple. He has been the top running back in fantasy points per game, the top running back in expected fantasy points per game over the past month. So we love that. The Green Bay Packers are slated to score the second most points on the slate this week, and he's playing a New Orleans defense that is bottom 10 against running backs. Everything across the board is screaming must start RB1 this week for Josh Jacobs. That's why I've got him at 1. Jahmyr Gibbs, this is our time, fellas. If you have Gibbs, if you made it this far, if you remember last year when David Montgomery missed multiple games, Jahmyr Gibbs was just dropping 30 bombs, raining them from the sky. He is going to be an absolute difference maker in your lineup if you have him, and if you're able to advance him, you're looking really pretty here as a potential RB1 rest of season. Bijan Robinson, are we going to get the Penix bump? Penix bump. Not Penix bump. Everything about Bijan right now is top 5. He's so talented, and if this offense can even open up even a little bit, it's going to make a huge difference for Bijan. Saquon, we don't need to dive in too much, but this is a great game environment for Saquon. James Conner is back. It is playoff James Conner, and he is now hell-bent on ruining my life because I've got Kyler Murray, and James Conner is just going to take all the points in this offense. Chase Brown, hard to fade when you have that kind of usage. Top 2 in production, top 3 in usage. Cleveland's kind of tough on running backs, but I'm not too worried about it. And then Achane here, top 2 in expected fantasy points per game over the past month. 6th, SF's been pretty weak here to running backs for a while now. Feel pretty good about Achane, especially considering his PPR volume he's going to receive. So I'll pause here. That's the top 7 running backs. Keegan, let's kick it off to you, man. Anyone here in this top 7 that you're higher or lower on versus either consensus or against me?
No, I mean, I feel like this is a pretty good top 7 we've outlined here. I think you can go back and forth with Gibbs or Jacobs, but like to your point, Josh Jacobs is like, he's the highest usage of any running back. Packers second in implied team total this week. Like, also maybe we're playing a little bit of bias here in the rankings because I think Josh Jacobs has helped maybe all of us in some key matchups down the stretch here. But look, I'm not going to pick apart a 1 and 2 ranking between those two. I think Conner and Chase, you could almost flip-flop with Bijan and Barkley. Like, you have to maybe consider the rookie woes of Mr. Penix entering in. What does the offense look like? Oddly enough, he played a very similar style of football, both on percentages of pure under the center snaps and how they like to run with Kirk Cousins. So it might look exactly the same with a little bit more zip on the ball. But I think just with the situation at hand, rookie quarterback, maybe bump them slightly. But I have no qualms or quarrels with these top 7 here.
No qualms or quarrels.
Yeah, right. That's right.
No. We already got him back. He's already got him back. Dropping vocab, Aidan. We love to see that.
He's nice.
Any thoughts on this tier, guys?
I'm shocked you don't have Gibbs 1, but like it's so hard to put anyone other than Jacobs right now. He's cleared 20 points in 7 out of his last 8 games. The usage remains undefeated. The Packers are looking like a bit of a wagon. They're kind of looking like
just a little bit.
They're kind of looking like the team you don't want to see in the NFC right now. If we're being completely real here, so they're humming. He's pretty much at the focal point of it. And then I just want to read James Conner's stat logs over the last couple of years in the fantasy playoffs because It's absolutely insane, dude. So week 14 this year before the playoffs gets you 22. Week 15, 30 points in week 1 of the playoffs. Last year, the 3 weeks of fantasy playoffs, 17.9, 22.2, 26.3. The year prior to that, 3 fantasy, 18.1, 25, 14 This guy fucking shows up when you need him most, and he's going to do it again this week. James Conner is an absolute hero. They've got a great matchup this week against Carolina, the best matchup in fantasy football. So, James Conner, wow, man, I'm excited to watch you rip again. I'd be shocked if he doesn't clear 20 this week.
He just steals all the points. If you have any, he steals all the touchdowns. If you have Kyler or Trey McBride, they're all going to Connor, man. I mean, he's incredible.
Docking Jahmyr Gibbs for some Sion Bucky vultures.
No. And you guys know I'm a giant Gibbs bull and everything about this. I mean, his RTM score is 5.1, guys. Like, everything about Gibbs is great. But if I'm just looking off my model that I built, Jacobs has a better RTM score. So I'm not going to fade it. I'm not going to fade Jacobs. He's also a good person. We love you, Josh. Thank you for everything you've done this season.
Such a good guy.
Just a little bit of bias. Just a little bit.
Hey, I had Gibbs as my RB1 in Dynasty last January. All right. So I love Jahmyr Gibbs. But go Josh Jacobs this week. All right. Running backs 8 through 17, tier 2 here. Aaron Jones, James Cook, Kyren Williams, Bucky Irving, Chuba Hubbard, Rachaad White, Rico Dowdle, Tony Pollard, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry. I'm all over the place versus ECR here. Kind of feeling myself a bit. I'm very excited to hear Keegan's thoughts here, but I'll just break down each guy. Aaron Jones, greens across the board. The only thing I can't figure out about this is why does Minnesota have the 13th implied team total and Seattle has the 23rd? They're not projecting a shootout here at all between these two. I would love that if we got wider distribution here, but whatever. I still feel really good about Aaron Jones this week versus Seattle. Greens across the board. James Cook, he's a big play machine. He's going to dunk on efficiency week in and week out. You're hoping for the big play. He continues to deliver. Kyren Williams is a meat and potatoes grinder in a bit of a tough matchup against the Jets. Bucky, if I knew Bucky was healthy, Bucky would be in the top 7 this week. He is limited already throughout the week. It appears he's healthier than he was last week. They kind of kept him on ice against the Chargers and used him when they really needed to in the second half. If we see a full complement of snaps for Bucky Irving, I think he is going to help you punch your ticket to the fantasy championship. Chuba Hubbard remains an elite role. Production has been trending down. You can run on Arizona a little bit, but it's hard to trust him and trust this offense. Rachaad White, shootout game against Dallas. Rachaad White has been bunny. It's a good spot for him. Rico Dowdle's been a borderline RB1 over the past month. Tony Pollard remains a good start week in and week out, but you are playing a Tennessee Titan in week 16. So it is going to make you a little nervous with Tony Pollard. Joe Mixon is banged up and in a tough matchup. I'm a bit worried about Joe Mixon this week. Derrick Henry here, my biggest dropper against DCR. Aidan and I have been highlighting this for close to 3 weeks now. It's TD or bust. For Henry, if he scores a TD, you're going to get likely a ceiling game. He might even score 2. That'll get your ceiling game. But the ceiling has not been there on the back half of the season for Derrick Henry. So that's tier 2. Aidan, anyone here catching your eye? Anyone you're higher or lower that on?
Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout on this Minnesota-Seattle game. We are looking at a fuck ton of rain. I was just looking at it, and I was like, it's got to be in Seattle. We're looking at like a 90% chance of rain at kickoff pretty much throughout the game. Yeah, I was like, something's off here. There's no way that it would be that low if it's in Minnesota, which doesn't bode well for a guy like Aaron Jones, who's had some issues toting the rock this year and holding on to it. But I still like him. You figure teams are going to run, like both teams are going to have to run probably more than they'd like. So this is more of an issue for each passing attack. Like, I don't think I'm knocking. If anything, I'm probably moving them up. But yeah, just a quick thought there that I wanted to call out. And then I love Bucky this week. Love Bucky Irving this week. I think he's going to play. If he does, this is a Dallas defense that has been pretty catastrophic lately. So really like these two guys. Just one more call out too. What a shame for Joe Mixon here. Man, tough last couple of weeks in general. He kind of looked amazing, turned back the clock, but Those look like old legs. I'm just gonna say. I was watching him against New York. Like, this looked different a month ago. So hardest matchup in the league against Kansas City. There is a world where they're potentially playing from behind here too, against a good Kansas City team. So who knows? We'll see. I think that game's on Saturday too, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's the early game on Saturday. So maybe we get some kind of like de facto primetime juice. But good tier here, Keegan. Anything wetting your whistle?
No, I feel bad for Joe Mixon owners. They're probably riding pretty high towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, his rushing prop by Vegas is somewhere around like 60.5 yards, which is like nothing to clamor over for who you hope to be an RB1.
That's bad.
Love the live docking of Aaron Jones due to weather concerns mid-episode. I just saw Shaun adjust that on the
Update
fly,
the ranks.
so
Update the ranks.
I think James Cook is probably the trickiest person to rank in this, just because like looking at how they use their running backs, it's not like a very clear picture throughout the game, especially in week 15. I mean, there's Cook for big plays, but then there's Ty Johnson. I mean, Ty Johnson's averaging about 14 PPR points per game in the past 2 weeks. So he's definitely getting involved. They still have some Ray Davis involved. It's a three-headed monster. So I think Cook, like in the notes, he's got to hit a big play to really hit home on that ranking. And then I think Derrick Henry, like while on paper and also on screen, it's looked a little bit worse. Like no George Pickens for the Steelers is a huge factor for how they move the ball on offense. If they're not going to have the ball enough and the Ravens just get a ton of time of possession, like we can really see that Derrick Henry usage kind of tick up. And sure, it might be TD or bust, but if the Ravens have the ball a ton, like I like Henry to move up from this 17 ranking. I definitely don't think he should be below Mixon or Pollard. But other than that, I'm pretty good with all these rankings. Chuba has been, RB1, especially with no Jonathan Brooks in the picture. The usage has remained really, really good for them. And how about the dual-headed monster of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I mean, they're projected a boatload of points this week. Bucky back tweaked, goes in, and then drops a 100-yard rushing game. I mean, the guy is an animal. And Rachaad White still gets involved with the offense as well, too. So this is an exciting tier. I think my only comment is maybe on the James Cook ranking. And I'd like to see Derrick Henry a little bit higher, just because I think that game environment with no Pickens, like they really struggled to move the ball last week in Pittsburgh. So
I think TJ Watt's in. So we'll see.
I thought I saw
don't know.
I thought I saw
he's playing.
Yeah.
Like even if Derrick Henry has a big game, he goes for 100 and a TD, doesn't catch anything. You're still looking at like 18 points. So like I still think he can jump to the top of this tier. He's going to need multiple TDs to really have a ceiling outcome.
Rico will get into the end zone this week, fellas. He will get in.
He's good, dude. He's just a good running back.
Oh, and the other thing, I think the rain might actually, hopefully it'll help Aaron Jones if they can move the ball and get to the red zone. But they've been passing so much in the red zone recently. I mean, how do you not with the weapons that they have? But it's just like they get into the red zone and Kevin O'Connell is looking to pass. Like he is finding a way to get his pass catchers the ball in the red zone. So maybe with the rain, we'd see a little bit of Aaron Jones action. It could actually bode well for him, but we'll see.
It just hit me in real time that Justin Jefferson is in danger this week. Oh.
You know, Sammy's
not.
Sammy's gonna rip it regardless.
I need light brain. I need light brain.
You're good. JSN will save us. All right, tier 3 here. Running backs 18 to 27. I got Zach Charbonnet, Jonathan Taylor, Patrick Taylor, Breece Hall, Jerome Ford, Travis Etienne, Brian Robinson, Najee Harris, Tyrone Tracy, Rhamondre, Stevenson. Zach Charbonnet has not practiced this week, correct? Fellas,
Both of them.
we're recording this Thursday.
Both guys have not practiced as of Wednesday evening.
Fun. And again, Seattle practices like 8 p.m. at night, so it's going to be a while until we get
Keegan
there.
won't know till the morning, till he's having
I don't.
No, thanks. You guys will just have to send me a text and I'll read it when I get
I'm eating dinner on the West Coast when I get the Shefty alerts on Seattle practices. It makes zero sense. Keep an eye on that, but Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, regardless, this is a tough matchup, man.
Yep.
Minnesota is a pass funnel. They're tough on running backs, light on wide receivers, so we'll see how that plays out. Jonathan Taylor, welcome to the do not draft list, buddy. I'm never drafting you again.
Yeah, dude.
That was insane.
Just a quick one on him. I saw a stat that I think it was like 9% of people who started JT last week lost because of that play. So that was fun. The dropped ball on the touchdown, which is unfortunate. So brutal. Yeah, I'm not touching him next year either. But sorry to interrupt you, Shaun.
Yeah, that's real fun stuff from Jonathan Taylor here. This man Keegan over here is smiling. Keegan and I played last week, and he took me behind the woodshed. JT was a part of that. Okay, I've got Patrick Taylor pretty high here. So Garendo, in shocking news, another Niner running back. Literally zero news of this hamstring injury, and I'm just on my phone minding my own business, and I get an alert. It's like Garendo likely out this week, and I'm like, okay, that's really fun. Regardless, Patrick Taylor's going to get fed the rock. I would be shocked if we get an Izzy Abanaconda game. Considering that he has not been active, I think the Niners are just kind of counting down the minutes till the Cabo. That's the vibe this team's given right now. And I think Patrick Taylor, a nobody who's never really done much, is like the perfect example of getting 20 touches in a Shanahan disaster season and scoring 20 fantasy points. So I like Patrick Taylor this week. Breece Hall got bailed out by a late TD. I'm clearly banged up. I don't really know what to do with Breece Hall, but it's still Breece Hall. Jerome Ford. He's out here saving my eighth place best ball teams here this week. He is going to get the room all to himself. Nick Chubb is landed on IR, so Jerome Ford's going to be the bell cow this week. Usage is going to be great, but it's going to be ugly with DTR potentially a quarterback. Travis Etienne remains a good option in PPR formats. He has the RB24 usage over the past month, RB28 production. He's been pretty okay since he's came back from injury, and Vegas has been bad against running backs. Brian Robinson, going to get the usage, ceiling likely limit against a really good Philadelphia front. Najee Harris is going to get the ball, but this offense looks incompetent without George Pickens, especially against a good Baltimore front. Tyrone Tracy, usage, production are all fine. I just don't really want to play anyone in the Giants offense. That's why he's docked. And Rhamondre Stevenson, you can run on Buffalo. That's how you can score on them. They're a run funnel. Usage has been good for Rhamondre. He's a positive regression candidate, but I'm not getting super excited starting Rhamondre Stevenson at this point in the fantasy playoffs. Keegan, we'll start with you, man. Tier 3. What are your thoughts?
It's a pretty yuck group of running backs, to be honest here.
Pretty yuck.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start Sharp and you got to start Taylor if they're in your lineups and they're good to go. Breece, the question there is, I don't think Braylon Allen's going to play this week, so that 3-headed committee goes down to a 2-headed committee. But
oh wow,
I'm not really expecting much out of Breece this week as well. I think Jerome Ford piques my interest a little bit. I mean, he's not a lock for any goal-to-go carries, but they will have DTR, and I feel like relying on the run game is something that Stefanski is going to try and do. And he looked really explosive on that 60-yard touchdown run he had. Thought that was the best he had looked in a while, and obviously Nick Chubb, out for the rest of the season there. Brian Robinson's probably the lowest ranked player here that I think maybe deserves to be a little bit higher. I understand that Philly is pretty stout on their defensive line, but Brian Robinson just has such a good workload with no Eckler. And I think Washington is kind of surging again. They had a nice offensive game last week, and I think the environment for them will be a little bit better than the last time they played the Eagles. So I like Brian Robinson to move up a little bit here. And then, Tyrone Tracy, I don't know how you trust him with the usage of Devin Singletary for the Giants, which is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, he's got a bum ankle too. He was limited today though, which was good. But I think you nailed that one, Keegan.
Tracy's a stay away, man. That's a stay away in my opinion.
I don't know if you can trust him in like a do or die playoff matchup. He's carried a lot of people, I think, who went 0 RB, but that's just a really tough situation to deal with if both of them are healthy. I mean, at the end of the game there, it was all Singletary with Tracy sprinkled in last week, and I know they were down big, and Tracy was probably banged up, but I don't know. You don't love to see those trends from previous weeks, and I don't expect the Giants to be up big by any means where they can go to their number one guy here. So
no, they've got the tank captain Tommy DeVito suited up again.
Is DeVito back or is it Locke?
I think it's
Dude, I thought
Walk
they
is progressing this week. Last time I saw, but I don't know if they've made a
No.
choice on who's playing.
They're gonna
rough.
He's getting the Tyrod if he gets healthy. It is Tommy DeVito they're pushing out there on Sunday.
Yeah, Shaun, I think you nailed it though. This screams running back on San Francisco hitting home on 20 points in somebody's consolation bracket with Patrick Taylor.
Yep.
I will
say one guy that I think should be in here with injury news is Kendre Miller though. I think I'd move
Kendre. Talk
Kendre.
about that in the next tier, but I agree.
Yeah, I think Kendre with the Alvin Kamara news is probably a bit too low. As I think he's actually going to get like the bulk of those touches. I don't know how productive they're going to be, given that offense is kind of a dumpster fire. But like, I think we're probably looking at a 70 or 80% snap share.
Counter argument for my own take and your own take. I'm just going to go ahead and make this bigger for the viewers so they know.
Yeah,
look at that implied team total for those things.
Yeah, and Green Bay has been pretty good against running. It's rough.
Yeah, 32 must be like the most, right? Like the most. We're in for a good one.
Yeah. Imagine being a Kendre Miller holder and like you scooped him up off the waivers. And, like, this is the week. I finally.
It's a good start.
Him.
It's a good start. Like we can get to tier 3. Do you have anything on in a tier 4? Do you have anything on tier 3, Aidan? Before we get to tier 4?
No, that was it.
All right. So tier 4 here, I've got running backs 28 to 35. Kendre Miller, Jaylen Warren, DeAndre Swift, Amir Abdullah, Justice Hill, Isaiah Pacheco, Tank Bigsby. So the reason I have Kendre in tier 4 is that he's just on the Saints. That's it. You got
that's fair.
You got what's his name? The dude who looks like Steph Curry, kind of Steph Curry's kid. Why am I forgetting? Back? No, who's the quarterback right now for the Saints? Spencer Rattler. Okay.
God.
Why am I forgetting this? That was crazy.
You're saying he looks like Steph's daughter?
Yeah.
It's Steph's son, Ryan or whatever. He looks exactly like Curry's kid. It throws me for a loop here. So Miller's awesome. Everyone who's been rocking with us all summer knows I'm kind of Kendre Miller pilled. I think he's a good player, but Green Bay's good against running backs. This game script could totally get out of hand. Coaches love Jamal Williams. Like, there's just a lot of risk to get super high on Miller. But if you told me next Sunday at the end, where we're Sunday Night Football, and it's like, hey, Kendre Miller rushed for 100 yards, I would honestly not be that shocked. He's a super talented guy. I just want to be careful on making recommendations to you all. Warren, everything I said about Najee Harris, you can say about Jaylen Warren. If they start checking it down more, that'll help Warren. But for some reason, Cordell Patterson is out there. Like, he's like, like the Flex-It seal tape that you put on leaks. Like, Arthur Smith sees a problem in his offense. It's like, Cordell Patterson. We got to get 84 out there. Like, that's his fix to everything, which isn't great for fantasy. DeAndre Swift, if you play him, let me know how that goes, because I wouldn't do it. I don't know how you trust him, but I get why you would. Amir Abdullah was the lead back when Sincere McCormick got hurt, so I believe he will remain ahead of Alexander Mattison. Scott Turner is the new OC that clearly does not like Madison. Madison has been relegated to RB2, regardless of who RB1 has been. Justice Hill remains a interesting flyer, in my opinion, because he continues to see decent targets. He plays in like the best offense in the NFL right now. Baltimore's projected to score points. Like, I kind of just like Justice Hill as a flyer. You could do a lot worse. Very volatile. You could get 4 points. You could get 15, but Justice Hill is interesting. Pacheco is look good when they give him the rock, but again, why would you want to start anyone in this offense right now if you don't have to? So that's why I'm low on Pacheco. And Tank Bigsby's got a good matchup against a bad Vegas front, but he is dealing with Travis Etienne being ahead of him. So I think he's a bit of a TD dependent boom bust play. So that's tier 4, fellas. Aidan, who's wetting your whistle, as you would say?
Wetting my whistle. I think there's only 3 guys that I would actually start in here. Or maybe not start, that I'd feel decent about. Kendre, DeAndre Swift. Just the Lions' defense is just like dying 1 week at a time. Like, they just lost 2 or 3 more guys last week.
Aleen McNeil, that's rough. He's a good defensive tackle.
Yeah, so that's another brutal one. And then Pacheco as well. You're kind of just banking on a touchdown. I don't know, dude. This is a tough tier. I guess I kind of forgot Jaylen Warren. They might look to get their running backs involved a bit more with what's his name, George Pickens, injured. But I don't know. I don't trust Justice Hill. I don't trust anyone on the Raiders. Not named Brock Bowers. Even Jacoby barely mustered up 9 points last week. And then Tank Bigsby, like you mentioned, is kind of back to the backup, which sucks.
It's a brutal tier, guys.
It really is.
Yeah, I'm in a conundrum in our home league, and it's like David Montgomery goes out. He's not going to be back until the Lions postseason run, most likely.
He's not coming back. I don't believe them.
And I've got a choice between Kendre Miller or DeAndre Swift.
Swift.
Do I want to play the young guy who's on the team that's projected to score the least points on the weekend? Or do I want to play DeAndre Swift, who over the last 4 weeks, he's been held to 186 scoreless rushing yards on 57 carries for a good 3.3 yards per carry.
He had 80 last week. That's like half of it.
He's also got 2 or fewer receptions in 9 of 14 games this year. Roschon Johnson is back, and when they play together, Roschon has about 35% snap rate. And when they get to the goal line, they split carries almost evenly on the goal line, 12-10 in favor of Swift. So who do I want to be more miserable rooting for? Kendre Miller or DeAndre Swift?
You got to do Swift. Now that you posited this hypothetical, Swift's ahead of Miller.
Kendre Miller means you have to watch the Saints play, though.
No, nobody said I had to watch. I just have to plug and play and check the box score.
I would start Kendre over
Swift for me.
Pacheco, though. For me. I know Pacheco's not the hypothetical, but
I would start Pacheco over all of these guys. I think I would start.
I wouldn't do that. Pacheco has not done anything.
That dude, they are slow playing that entire offense. Last week was just the make a wish. Let's make Xavier Worthy good week, and I think they're honestly going to keep doing that just to get him ready for the playoffs. Like, I don't think
Pacheco numbers suck,
dude. They are not trying to do anything other than just keep the lights on. They're just trying to keep the lights on, get the 1 seed,
I'm just
integrate Hollywood Brown.
To be choosing between Swift or Miller, all right?
I think it's Swift.
The next tier gets even more fun too. If you thought this was a good exercise, let's get into the real fun starts.
Tier 5. Close your eyes and count to fuck. That's the 36-46. Alexander Madison, Tyjae Spears, Kareem Hunt, Antonio Gibson, Gus Edwards, Javonte Williams, Tyler Algier, Kimani Vidal, Ty Johnson, Isaiah Davis, Braylon Allen. I'm not going to go through every single one of these guys because, again, I want you to spend less time hearing us talk about this and more time with your family. Like, that's more important than tier 5 of week 16. I would say, though, if Braylon Allen doesn't play, Isaiah Davis is super interesting to me and is someone that I honestly am going to move up right now. I'm going to put him at the top of this tier. I find him way more interesting than a lot of these guys at this point because he's looked really good in limited runs. So top 30 points per game over the past month, top 33 usage. Like, he's clearly getting the checkdowns. Say what you want about Aaron Rodgers being the worst human of all time. He has looked decent over the past couple games. His offense has looked better, and I mean, the Rams aren't that good of a defense. So I do think Isaiah Davis is interesting here. So that's someone worth calling out as kind of a close your eyes, throw your dart at the dartboard kind of vibe. Outside of that,
check Davis's backs records just to be sure.
What's up?
We're gonna have to check Davis's backs records just to be sure.
His backs records? Oh, Vax.
His backs.
Bro, why would Aaron Rodgers? Okay, okay. This is one point I'm going to make here. So Aaron Rodgers is on the Pat McAfee show, and he's like, next time you want to talk shit on me, let me know about and I'm like, oh, he's going to say like Hall of Fame status, throwing 400 touchdowns in a career, being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, being a Super Bowl MVP, that whole thing. And he goes to vaccines like 4 years after the pandemic. And I'm not trying to get in a political grandstand here. Why can't the man be proud of the fact that he's one of the greatest QBs to ever lace him up? But instead, he's just like the biggest fucking douche weirdo of all time. And rant. Keegan, I know this could be a whole episode as a Jets fan, but I just had to get that one off my chest. All right,
this favorite circulating theory is just that he's intentionally tanking the Jets because he plays for the Johnson & Johnson family. I love that one. That long-standing theory always gets me going.
That is a good one. That is a good one. I will say one guy in here, though, is actually... You could maybe play Tajay. You could maybe play Tajay. I
decisions
honestly-
last week.
I look at last week on the usage for Tajay, and it was just like at the end of the game, like they rug pulled us pretty hard in the preseason. They're like, we want to get both running backs involved. Like, we like both of these guys.
He was injured.
Tajay was banged up a little bit.
He's been hurt all year.
But it's like they never, even when he's like not hurt though, they never went to that. It's always been the Tony Pollard show. Like, the Pollard posse has remained the go-to guy. But if he's a little bit more banged up, maybe we get some extra Tajay Spears.
Yeah,
But
he did
I
have
don't
5
know.
yards on the ground though. Like, if he doesn't do anything in the air, we're looking at a disaster. start
Five whole yards on the
on
ground.
4 carries, but he scored, and then he scored in the air too. Nightmare too. Oh, one more. Ty Johnson. That guy has phenomenal hands. Holy crap, man! I'm just watching this guy in the backfield, just like Willie Mays balls over his freaking shoulders.
New York
It looks
Jet
awesome.
legend.
Yeah, he looks good, dude.
NFL player.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think.
he's just an NFL player.
NFL player for sure.
But you could trust him for some catches in a PPR league. Maybe.
I mean,
don't.
if I
Again, he's a
knew
Bill.
if I knew that Buffalo was going to score 40 points, like, I would be very intrigued to play Ty Johnson this week.
Yeah, that's fair.
And heck, they might.
That's fair. All right.
Honestly, Ty Johnson's really, again, he's just Justice Hill on the Bills. Like, that's where we're at with Ty Johnson. So, like, I mean, that's not that bad, all things considered.
Not bad.
Considering they just spread the rock around too, so it just makes its way to Ty Johnson. Outside of that, again, long-standing tradition, Tyler Algier. Get Crocs, buddy. It's the Bijan Robinson show. Every touch you get is bad.
Nice try, pal. Nice
try. You had us for a second here this season, but it's Bijan's on top. Alrighty, that is 46 running backs, 5 tiers. Go
45.
win.
Whatever.
45 running backs. Go win your leagues. I know you can't do it this week, but punch your ticket to the fantasy championship, man. That is a feeling unlike any other. Almost makes you feel good to be alive. All right, boys. Thank you for joining, Keegan. It feels good to get you back in the saddle. This episode is going to be coming to you Friday morning. Wide receivers in your feed Saturday. All right, everybody. Best of luck this weekend. Until next time.